Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you this image. What do you feel when you see this image? Because for me, I see nothing but confusion and Spurs. Remember when Luton Town were promoted to the Prem and there were the memes of like Spurs beating City away at the Etihad and then losing the next game away to Luton Town 1-0? That is basically what's happened. Demolishing Manchester United 3-0 at Old Trafford and then losing away to Brighton while being 2-0 up and capitulating. But they're back because they absolutely smashed West Ham 4-1 at home. Then lost 1-0 away to Palace, which, by the way, we are in November, and that is still their only win in the league this year. But look, it's fine because they beat City, and they also smashed Aston Villa, who's doing really well, and then lost at home to Ipswich. Yet again, giving them their only win of the season. We are almost in December. But it's fine because they got City away, and they always do well there. Holy shit. They do quite well there. They've beat them 4-0. Tottenham Hotspur are still Tottenham. And this is why I did a video in the summer saying it's time to talk about them. And despite me saying that I think they're a very exciting team, which they are, they have scored the most goals to any team in the league this year. They're still Spurs. And they are incredibly consistent. And the main issue is this one key thing. Many of their players are brought in based on a style of play that more suits lower standard type of teams. This may be really offensive, but hear me out here. Dominic Solanke, absolutely brilliant at Bournemouth. And what style of football did Bournemouth play? A counter-attacking, direct style of play. Brennan Johnson came from Nottingham Forest, that did really well, coming from a very counter-attacking, fast-paced, direct style of play. What kind of football does Ange like to play? A style of play which involves high intensity and attacking with speed. So what do you think happens when you face any team which will simply not care about them having the ball and aim to completely defend for their lives? Sometimes it can still work out in their favour. West Ham being a good example, Brentford being a good example that can aim to counter-attack on them. However, they still do struggle to break down these lower sides. When Spurs plays away to a top team, if you go to a Spurs fan and say, do you have more hope of beating City or the Etihad than you do to beating I don't know, let's say Leicester City away, they'll probably say City. Hence why they didn't beat Leicester away this season anyway. Doesn't even need to be Leicester. Could be Palace, which they lost. Could be Fulham, which they got demolished last year. When it comes to these lower mid-table sides, they struggle immensely. But when it comes to playing United at Old Trafford, Arsenal at the Emirates, they're pretty good, and we've got the stats to back this up. But of course, comment down below, where do you see Spurs? Can they win something this year? Of course, they did beat City in the Carabao Cup, and they are now in the quarterfinals. I want Spurs to win something. I'm not even involved. And no, it's not because I want to make money by selling prints. It absolutely is that. Please check out Mazzara Designs, link down below. That is quite a cheap way to introduce it in, but I don't care. So there you go. Comment down below your thoughts on Spurs. Can they win something? Hopefully they do, because I kind of am bored of them just being annoying. Like, subscribe, and if you're a Spurs fan, why? Because genuinely, why? Because the thing is, right, being a Spurs fan must be actually like infuriating, because you're surrounded by fans of other top 6 clubs, which probably joking you all the time for not winning anything, and then you're also probably, if you're from London, getting memed by fans at other clubs like Palace or Fulham that keep on beating you, and then clubs like West Ham that actually have won something 2 years ago, now they're using that on you now. So you're getting it from everywhere. So again, why are you a Spurs fan? Tell me down below. So of course, the idea that Spurs is a counter-attacking team is maybe quite obvious for many people, and that's why they are so well at playing these top sides. But let's look at the actual stats that were back of this. How about we look at the XG? Now, you may not care about XG. In reality, it's quite important. Now, when it comes to XG that Spurs has against the top teams in the league, right now, it's currently 2.98. That is actually before the City game. So in theory, it should be actually probably higher by now, and could be maybe in the threes for average XG against the top sides. However, when it comes to XG against the lower sides, like Everton, like a Leicester, like a Ipswich, their XG is actually a 1.65 as an average. That is almost a cut in half, 50% of their common XG against the top clubs. Why is that? Because when you play against a lower side, they will typically expect you to have more of the ball, and then will set up to play much more of a low block. Therefore, meaning that you've got to try to break down their defense. And when you are a counter-attacking team, you've not really got the space to really run into, and relying on much more intricate and much more clinical style of play, which doesn't really suit many of their players. Many of the players are much more suited to pace and having something to run into. Christ, they got Timo Werner at the football club. You know what I mean here. Now, this isn't always correct, but in theory it kind of did. Brighton and Hove Albion being a great example of a side that plays a higher line, and they did take advantage, and they were indeed 2-0 up, and it felt like it was a perfect matchup for Spurs. But yet, sometimes Spurs still does Spurs, and of course they fell apart in the second half, unfortunately for them. Now, Ange did come out, and it's been kind of famously repeated that Ange says that he always wins trophies in his second year at the club. He came out and said this, and the thing is, I think Ange is like my dad, so I completely back what this guy says. I think he will win a trophy because he said so. And also be really cool that if he said it and he actually did it. Spurs are an exciting team, however defensively they have got their issues. Typically they always do concede first, more often than not. Compared to any other side in the entire Premier League since the start of last season, they've actually conceded first at home more than any other team, 14 times, which is a stat that you'd expect to hear from a club like an Everton, for example, man. But from Spurs at home, it seems rather concerning. If it means anything, the 14 times where they did concede first, they actually went on to win that game 10 of those 14 times. But yet, still, the underlying issue is still there, no matter how many times you try to make up for it. Passive has been used by Ange in his many press conferences about the times that they've faced against a side that will simply sit back and let them try to attack them, break them down like Ipswich did, and they just didn't have the creativity, that final ball, that final bit of the spark which you need, and that is something that Man City can do very comfortably, other than against Spurs, obviously, or really anyone right now. There's also this weird, fun little fact here with Spurs that when they do win a game, they win a game. Like, each time that they win a game of Premier League, they've only won 6. However, they've at least won by scoring 3 goals. If it's Brentford at home 3-1, if it's United away 3-0, if it is, of course, West Ham 4-1, Villa 4-1, and City away 4-0, when they win, they win. And it's almost like that once they get that first goal, then I find it so much easier just to break down a team because now the other team has to now properly go for the game a bit more and to open themselves up more, which perfectly suits Spurs. And when they do concede first and they go down 1-0, that's a disaster for how they want to play. Now, of course, in terms of Spurs and their squad makeup, it's not precisely a very strong team when it comes to their depth. I've not even really mentioned their Europa League games because I just don't think it's really that relevant here. When it comes to, let's say, their loss away at Galatasaray, I'm not really mentioning it because when I look at a team, it wasn't really a common Spurs team. They were playing Will Lancashire up top with Bergvall midfield, Archie as a left back, Ben Davies playing as a centre back, Fraser Forster in goal. It just isn't a usual Spurs team because they've just not got the real depth right now. They have got some injuries, but not too much. In terms of injuries, they've got, of course, Christian Romero out, they got Mickey van der Ven out for a bit, Richarlison still out, and Wilson Odobert as well. So when it comes to their injuries, there's still some players that's definitely important for them, Mickey van der Ven and Romero being the obvious ones, and also Richarlison too. But it's in terms of attacking wise, they still, like Richarlison as well, a player which came from a lower club in the Premier League in Everton, in the way that they want to play, and that kind of suits how they really want to play as a counter-attacking type of team. Spurs beating City is a statement win, however, no one can really feel that excited by it because we've been here too many times before where they would go and get a massive win, and then the next game, what's the next game in the league? Fulham at home. Fulham, if it was Fulham away, I'd be utterly convinced that they will lose this game. If it's at home, you may have more of a chance here, but I still would not be too sure. And then they've got Bournemouth away, that just feels like a guaranteed loss. Or Southampton away, take your pick. I can guarantee they'll beat Chelsea at home, but then lose to either Southampton or Bournemouth. I can almost guarantee it. And then they'll probably beat United at home for the EFL Cup game, which should be a massive one for them. Christ, win something, Spurs. But yeah, that's Spurs. I remember I got shouted at by Spurs fans for saying that, like, look, I really like your team. I think they're really good. I think they're exciting. But you are so incredibly consistent because I don't think your squad has you've not got killers. You've not got people, robots that does well week in, week out. I don't see it. And I don't know what has to change. Maybe one or two like real big moves in the market. I like Ange. He's a very attractive manager and he makes you feel like you're going towards a direction, which is it's very strong to have. But man, like, you just need to goddamn win something. Best of luck, boys.